So, a little over a year ago, I started a podcast. And I started it because it's something I was interested in genuinely. I love hearing people's experiences and stories. I love being able to sit and listen and connect in a way, knowing that people have experienced similar things and just genuinely enjoy the overall experience of listening to podcasts, and wanted to bring my shared experience to that same platform. So I put out 2 episodes on my podcast last year. And after the second episode, which was entitled Emojis and Demon Seals, almost immediately after I released that episode, several strange things started to happen. And if you haven't listened to that episode, I would suggest you do. It talks about the link between the use of King Solomon's seals and the emojis on our keyboards, and Unicode, the company behind it. And the conglomerate of that company is Google, Facebook, and the Division of Religious Affairs of the country of Oman, which a lot of people have never even heard of before. But it's definitely something worth looking into. But anyway, just a short time after I released that episode on my podcast, just sort of run of bad luck began to unfold and just kept going for a while. I started getting very strange voicemails and phone calls that were quite creepy, almost scary, and began to notice that during the time the voicemails were being left, there were vehicles driving in front of my house that I'd never seen before. And it eventually stopped. But shortly after that, everyone in my house got sick, and my wife got extremely ill. She ended up having to have surgery. She became so ill. She found out she had some precancerous cells inside of her, and we got that taken care of. And then the next odd occurrence, something that has troubled me for quite some time now, and has been the reason it has taken me so long to get back to work on my podcast. I had a rather strange experience here. Sitting on this very porch with this very same view. It was around the end of March, like the last week of March. My wife and I were sitting here on the porch, and we saw two, I guess you would call them orbs, lights in the sky. Right at around sundown, they were brilliant, moving faster than anything either of us had ever seen in our entire lives. One at each end of our field of vision, pretty much, and they came together with lightning speed and then dropped directly what seemed to be to the ground. And it, it was just so incredibly odd and strange that we both saw it and didn't really know what to think of it or make of it. We've all heard UFO stories, and we've all seen videos and this, that, and the other, but we've never really experienced it up until that point. And even now, we're not really sure exactly what it was or how to feel about it. But the scariest part of the whole experience is what happened later that night. Now, before I tell this next part, I want to say that until I had this experience, I was absolutely not a bona fide believer in alien abduction or even UFOs for that matter. But after listening to a lot of other people's experiences, and after having my own very terrifying, strange experience, I'm on the fence, at least. Because what happened later that night, after my wife and I sat out here on the porch and saw those orbs, or UFOs, or strange lights, whatever, I experienced something that I guess really I wish I hadn't, but I did. And it's bothered me, it's troubled me, and I haven't really known, I guess, how to deal with it since it happened. But so I was asleep in the bed that night, and I thought I was having just a terrible dream. Don't know if it was coincidentally about being in sort of a a unfamiliar space or an unfamiliar room, but there was something being done to me in the dream that was absolutely terrifying and horrifying. I couldn't explain it or describe it any other way. But in the dream, I just wanted to get out of this space or this room and run, because I felt like something just evil was being done to me. And in the dream, I was able to get out of the space or the room and run. And I came across something on my way out, and I assumed it was the thing that was doing this evil, horrible thing to me. And just this rage came over me, and I wanted to kill it. And what I saw in the dream was best description I can give is what we perceive, or the imagery we often associate with that of a small gray alien. But this one had like scales on it, like a monitor lizard. It's the best description I have to give of it. And in this dream, I felt like it sensed my anger with it, and it knew my thoughts. It knew that I wanted to kill it. So it took off running, and I took off running after it. And then right before I could catch it, I awakened from the dream. Like, I actually awakened from the dream, and I'm in full-blown sleep paralysis. I am frozen. I can't move. I can't speak. I can't do anything. But my eyes are open, and I can see my bedroom. I can see, my wife is next to me asleep. We have 3 children, and our youngest one is 2, and he is asleep in his small bed in the room with us. And I just become scared shitless during the sleep paralysis, because I can see the front of the bedroom towards the door is lit, and we keep our bedroom pitch black so that we can sleep well at night. We have blackout curtains, and it's just absolutely pitch black in there when there's no lights turned on. And I can see that the front of the room is lit a little, like towards the door, and the TV in our room is right next to the door. And I see what I can only describe as this area or space in air in front of the TV next to the door that is lit, and something like phasing through the actual space, turning around and looking at me, and then going through that space that almost looks like static, visual static in the air that you could see. And then a few moments later, the paralysis is over, and I get up out of the bed, and I am physically shaking. I have seen a lot of things and done a lot of things in my lifetime, and I am not easily scared at all. But I have never been so scared in all my life. I was absolutely terrified. And I remember just walking around the room and not really feeling sure about anything for a moment, and I collect myself and I'll walk throughout the rest of the house, make sure everyone and everything is okay, and I go outside and smoke a cigarette. And for the next couple of days, that was really all I could think about, was that experience, and how I had never believed I had never believed in that shit ever before. It's not that I didn't believe that people were experiencing something. It's just that until I heard, even more experiences, from listening to people's stories and reading experiences and things like that, I don't know, I didn't think that it was what it is, I guess. And it's absolutely crazy. It's scary, and it leaves you with this place in your mind where you're like, what in the actual hell happened? What actually happened? And another strange part to all this is I got up the next morning and texted a very close friend of mine, a family member actually, and asked her what she thought about all this. And I went back today to look at those text messages and try to get an exact date, see what day it was when I texted her. And those messages, just those messages, are gone from my phone. All the text I sent her before that experience and all the text I sent her after that experience are there. But the text of me speaking to her on that experience specifically are gone. They're not in my phone. And I have no explanation for that whatsoever. So that's what's been going on since I put out the Demons and Emoji Seal episode well over a year and a half ago. It's just been kind of crazy. and my wife has been dealing with a lot of things herself, a lot of paranormal experiences, and other people in the house have too. Lots of, I guess you would say, shadow people sightings, people seeing shadows, run across the living room. That happens quite a bit. Or they'll see a shadow running down the hall, or coming out of the kitchen or going into the kitchen. My wife keeps feeling someone touch her on the knee in the bedroom when I'm not in there. And just all this stuff just just seemed to happen and pick up after I did that episode. And I'm not saying I can contribute all this high strangeness to me putting that episode out. The only thing I can really contribute to that is, maybe someone wanting to mess with me and, giving me those voicemails and, doing it as they're driving by my home. But other than that, I don't know. It's just been extremely crazy and strange. But it's, people will understand also that that's just sort of been my life. When I come out in the future with later episodes explaining, things in my life and the way my life has been for the most part, going all the way back to me being in 8 years old in the second grade and having to go to therapy for a paranormal experience I had. People will get the idea that these sort of things have just kind of always been a part of my life. So this is Bear with Distracted Daily, just sort of giving an update on why it's been so long.